Over the past 20 years, fewer than 100 people have died from vaping, while more than 100 million have died from smoking regular cigarettes. In Thailand, the tobacco death toll is 71,000 people each year, and from vaping, 0. So why are cigarettes available in every convenience store while e-cigarettes are banned? Let's take a deeper dive. The subject of e-cigarettes or vaping devices splits opinion around Southeast Asia and the rest of the world, but it's particularly controversial here in Thailand. Use of tobacco is the #1 preventable cause of death all over the world, with at least half of smokers dying from their habit. There are slightly more than 1 billion smokers, and 8 million die from smoking-related diseases each year. In Thailand, the smoking death toll is 71,000 people per year. E-cigarettes were introduced to Europe and the US back in 2006. A 2023 peer-reviewed scientific paper estimated there were 82 million vapers worldwide in 2021, compared to just over 1 billion smokers. Vaping devices are banned in some countries, but promoted as an effective way to reduce the smoking death toll in others. It's quite clear where the Thai government stands on the issue. E-cigarettes have been effectively illegal since 2015, and officials frequently highlight the dangers of vaping while staying silent on smoking. But what is the truth, and what is smoke and mirrors? In this deeper dive, we'll look at the scientific evidence for the relative dangers of smoking and vaping, and we'll ask these questions. What are the health risks from vaping versus combustible cigarettes? Since e-cigarettes have only been around since 2006, how likely is it that they'll cause disease as vapers get older? How effective is vaping to get people either to quit or avoid smoking for good? How likely is it that people will get addicted to nicotine from vaping and then transition to cigarettes? Should tobacco-flavored e-liquid be treated differently from candy flavors specifically marketed to children? If e-cigarettes are much safer than tobacco cigarettes, and many smokers would have switched to vaping if it was legal, what is the likely death toll from Thailand's ban? And finally, among the hundreds of millions of foreign tourists since 2015, how many vapers may have switched back to cigarettes during their stay here and will eventually die as a result? First, let's look at the relative dangers of smoking and vaping. According to the US Surgeon General's report from 2016, traditional combustible cigarettes contain more than 17,000 carcinogens, cancer-causing substances. E-cigarettes are not entirely free of these compounds, but one report said the quantities of toxins and carcinogens in e-liquid are so much lower than in cigarettes that they're unlikely to cause a health risk. One danger specific to vaping is that not enough liquid reaches the heating element in a vaping device. More formaldehyde may form than when smoking. And one chemical of concern in unregulated e-liquid flavors like vanilla and coconut is diacetyl, which has been linked to a disease known as popcorn lung. Well, so much for the chemical components. What are the actual statistics of deaths and disease from vaping? During the Ebola outbreak of 2019 and 2020, 68 people in the US died from a lung disease that was ultimately linked to a specific type of e-liquid that contained THC and the dangerous chemical vitamin E acetate. Now, for context, that's 68 fatalities in a 2-year period when almost 1 million Americans died from smoking. How about stats in another country where vaping is common, the UK? Between May 2016 and January 2022, the Medicines and Healthcare Products Regulatory Agency received 257 reports of adverse reactions, but 0 deaths. And the agency explained that a report is not proof that the reaction was caused by a vaping product, just that the reporter thought it might have been. In addition to these statistics, I found 2 recorded fatalities worldwide from the batteries in vapes exploding, which we should probably compare to the thousands killed in fires caused by lit cigarettes. Overall, fewer than 100 people have died as a result of vaping since 2004. The worldwide death toll from smoking during that period is more than 100 million. So, what do governments and health authorities think of the dangers of vaping versus smoking? That very much depends on where you are. Britain's National Health Service said vaping is, quote, far less harmful than cigarettes, and vaping is actively promoted in the UK as a means to lower the death toll from smoking. Britain's Royal College of Physicians said that e-cigarettes should be promoted as an effective means of helping people who smoke to quit. And in 2015, an independent review published by Public Health England that included the results of animal testing concluded that vaping devices are about 95% safer than smoking cigarettes. Here in Thailand, the narrative is completely different. Numerous officials have said that vaping is as dangerous as smoking. Dr. Thongchai Girati Hatayagon, chief of the Department of Disease Control, said the number of patients with e-cigarette related diseases, especially severe lung infections, has dramatically increased. I reached out to the Ministry of Health to ask for the evidence for that, but I received no response. I asked because I was unable to find a single case of vaping-induced death in Thailand, and no confirmed cases of serious disease, except one in a man with underlying diseases. It's possible there have been some, but neither the Health Ministry or any anti-vaping organizations responded to my request for such statistics. Yet, despite this apparent lack of evidence, vaping is illegal and trumpeted as a major health threat, while very little is said about the cigarettes that, according to the World Health Organization, kill 71,000 Thais each year. That's 47 people a day. So, why the anti-vaping hysteria? One motivation appears to be economic. The Bangkok Post quoted an official from the autonomous government agency Thai Health as saying, e-cigarettes will have a widespread effect on tobacco farmers in the country. Farmers will suffer income loss. But is it worth 71,000 lives a year to protect tobacco farmers? If it doesn't matter that their crop is deadly, why not let them grow opium? It costs an estimated 98 billion baht to treat smoking-related diseases every year, which could be used to compensate farmers for growing something else or rewilding the land to help fight climate change. In fact, my guest today says the farmers could continue growing tobacco. The crop could be used partially for heat-not-burn devices and partially to produce liquid nicotine for vape juice. And in that case, the argument that legalizing vaping would put tobacco farmers out of business has no merit. The next issue, does vaping help smokers quit? A 2021 peer-reviewed study found that daily e-cigarette usage among US tobacco smokers can increase the likelihood of quitting smoking 8-fold. A 2019 peer-reviewed randomized control study also found that daily e-cigarette use leads to an almost doubled rate of smoking abstinence than other nicotine replacement products after 1 year. But could vaping be a gateway to smoking? A 2023 research letter found that exclusive e-cigarette users are unlikely to transition to combustible tobacco. On the other hand, a joint survey by Thailand's Ministry of Public Health, Ministry of Education, and the World Health Organization found that 13 to 15-year-old Thai vapers were up to 3 times more likely to use tobacco products in the future. And what could explain the opposite findings? One reason could be that because e-cigarettes are illegal in Thailand, they're harder to obtain, and once someone's hooked on nicotine, if they can't find a vape, they'll smoke a regular cigarette available in every convenience store to get their fix. But that study also showed something that people on both sides of the issue find disturbing, that the use of e-cigarettes among school children aged 13 to 15 years in Thailand increased from 3.3% in 2015 to 8.1% in 2021. And pretty much everyone agrees that e-cigarettes should not be marketed to children and they are being despite the ban.